Welcome to the latest part of my series of videos of constructing the DJH A8 kit. I know I've been away for quite a while, but I've taken on extra duties with regards to preparing the Guild library for video presentation, and that's been taking up quite a lot of my time. Also, I've decided to largely finish two other locomotive kits that were pending. So I finished my K1, and this is the picture of the K1, and I've also finished and received back my standard 4MT from an MOK kit, which went off for lining to a friend of mine. I'm not quite up to, well, I'm not nowhere near his standard for finishing locomotives, so I gave it to a friend of mine to complete, and he's made an absolutely superb job of finishing it off. I just hope that it runs as well as it looks. I hope it will, it should do. But anyway, so back to the DJH A8. So if you remember the last time, this was basically how far we got. So we've done the main superstructure, a lot of the brass superstructure work. We've done the details on the rear of the bunker. We have fitted the water balance pipes, which are here and here on the other side. And we also fitted some white metal castings and some lost wax castings. So we've fitted the water tank fillers and their retaining screws. The retaining screws for the water tank fillers also have the brackets for the vertical handrails for the tank fronts. We've also fitted the sandboxes on either side, although not their caps, and we've fitted the etched brass surround. Now, when I left last time, I'd fitted one of the mechanical lubricators. As I mentioned probably at the end of the last video, there were two more. So in the meantime, I've gone away. In fact, I did this yesterday. So I've fitted the two that were on this side, and I fitted the one that is on this side. And I don't know if you can see, but if I hold it up, I have done a reasonable representation of what I think is the pipework, judging on my picture that I have, my large A3 picture of my chosen locomotive. It's a little bit of a problem for doing the pipework, because obviously this picture only shows this side of the locomotive. Now, I can't judge, and I haven't found any other pictures yet of the opposite side of the locomotive, so I can't really complete the pipework on the side where the two lubricators are until I find a decent photo that will give me some idea. I may have to move some of the castings as well, especially the atomizer, which in the instructions is mounted on the front frames. But I've found some other vague pictures which show the atomizer on the right hand side of the locomotive is in a similar position to the one on the left, indeed in the picture. So I'm going to leave that aside for the moment until I can find a decent photograph, as I'm back on nights tonight at work. Give me a little bit of time maybe, but I've got a couple of other things that I need to do. So what we've done, we'll move on. So these sections of video concern page 8, 9 and 10 of the instructions, and this video is going to be reasonably short because I've got a couple of other things that I need to do today, domestic things. So what we're going to do is we're going to concern ourselves with the bunker. of the locomotive. Now, there are three possible variations of the bunker of the locomotive, and if you've done your research and set on a particular locomotive at a particular period, you will know what kind of bunker the locomotive had. Now, my locomotive 69875 moved around quite a bit before it ended up at West Auckland. During the war, it was actually allocated to Starbeck, which is near Harrogate, and it was used for banking freight trains because there are quite a few severe gradients around there. Although it's a passenger tank, it's quite powerful, and they were used for banking freights. Now, while it was allocated to Starbeck, it did have a hopper bunker, which is what is depicted in the instructions. So it's the cage but with the surround round the top. This was removed when it was returned back to the Darlington district, and this is detailed in the Eden book. I think it was removed in 1947 or 1948 because it wasn't required. The locomotives were not coaled using a mechanical plant, and at West Auckland they were coaled using a crane with hoppers. So what we've got for the particular options, we've got the base plate, which is a white metal casting. Now, there are two included in the kit. The other one includes just the flat-sided coal rails. So obviously you use that one if you're doing that particular a locomotive that had that kind of bunker. I don't know offhand which ones did, but a number of them did. And as it's had the hopper, it's still used the cage. So what I've done is I've removed the cage from the etching and I've bent it up to shape using my hold and fold, large hold and fold. So whatever method you choose to bend it up, I must caution you that this etching is extremely delicate. It is really, really delicate. You have to treat it very, very carefully. However, do not worry if you get a few distortions in the top, because obviously with having chole chucked in them on a daily basis, they did get distorted to a certain extent. But please, please try to keep the bends at the end where the angles are, try and keep those as pristine as you can, and also make sure that the bottom edge of the etch, this bit, is as straight as possible, because that sits on top of this bunker. There are three projections on the rear which you may just be able to see. Hold on, let's get a dark background. Alright, that'll do. Right, so you may just be able to see that there are three projections on the rear of the bunker. Do not remove these because they sit on the rear of the footplate. On the rear of the bunker. They sit on this rear edge and they actually prop it up. So now to the preparation necessary. There is quite a detailed section of the instructions with regards to preparing the bunker, with some dimensions on. The 16mm gap. Sorry, I've just dropped the bunker top. Right, there's two dimensions. It's 32mm. So that distance from there to there should be 32mm. So we'll just check that quickly, having prepared the bit already. So, and well, it looks like it's 32mm, but maybe that is just for the positioning of the tank breather, and so we'll forget that for the moment. So yes, best laid plans and all that. So no, the distance between these two bits is not 32mm. It can't be, because the etch is only 29 or 29 and a half, 28 and a half even. So ignore what I said there to talk rubbish. So first thing that you need to do is to take your bunker bottom, which fits into the rectangular gap. Now, depending on how well you have built the back of your locomotive, this may or may not fit straight away. Mine didn't fit, so I've had to do quite a bit of dressing on it. Obviously, before this is a white metal part or pewter part, you will need to dress off any etching cusps, and again, as I've done elsewhere in the video, I've used one of my wife's nail files, which seems perfect for the job. It doesn't clog up with white metal either, which is a bit of a bonus. The other thing that you will probably have to do if it doesn't fit is that at this end, where it attaches the cab, the bit that is proud on the top is supposed to engage with this curved bit. Now on mine, the first thing that I found that it didn't do is that this part needed cutting back slightly. I only needed 1mm or so taking off it. I used a scalpel and then dressed it off with a diamond file this time, not the nail file. The other thing is that because the back of the bunker is curved, this part comes cast with a curve. Now that may not fit. So when I had it originally, it was actually the bit of the back was sticking up, so it was like that. Don't be tempted to remove material from the edge that abuts the cab, because if you do that, the bit of beading at the back will not be in line with the edge of the bunker, and what you are aiming for is to get the beading that runs all the way around the cast part. You want that to align with the etched parts which you've already assembled. If they don't line up, it will look a bit strange, especially if the beading is set further forward, especially on the rear of the bunker. It just won't look right. So please resist the temptation to move material from the edge that abuts the cab beyond what you need to remove any etching cusps or casting cusps, or any flash that may be present in your particular casting. So I've done that and I've adjusted it, and I think I've got a reasonable fit all the way around. So this bit is level with the back. There is a tiny gap which will be able to fill in with low melt solder when I do it. Now when you come to assemble if you're using the cage or doing the hopper bunker, when you assemble this, do not solder this to the superstructure that you've already made. Just stick it in the hole like that. And again, I've done numerous dry runs with the cage, and what you're aiming for is for the cage to be square at the back and for the sides to abut to the cab underneath the windows. So if you've opted for a cage or the hopper bunker, you will have no doubt fitted the correct back plate. If you've got the ordinary one with the three coal rails, the standard one, you will have used a different back plate, the one with the quadrant shaped windows. So that is roughly it. The parts fit underneath the windows, and that is ready for assembly now. And I will go away and do that in a moment. But what I just need to talk to you again about the about this part. If you've opted for the hopper bunker, which has got a surround in the kit, which is this part. This is the hopper top, this part here. What you will need to do, this is quite a complex etching, and there are 4 bends on it. Now, what I've had to do to make it close is that I've had to bend this side. There is a fold which is about 1 millimeter wide, which is in essence it's the tops of the tops of these bits. If you're using the hopper, you're going to fit the hopper. These edges at the top are the bits that will stick out. So they'll stick out parallel to this bit at the top. Let's go a bit closer. So you've got this bit, which is the rear of the bunker, and these etched part, this fold here, should be parallel to the top rail of the bunker rear. So, and then what you do is you sit this bit, this etched part sits on top of these projections. So you've got a projection on either side, and those bits sit on the top. And then you obviously solder that, the part that I showed you, round the edge of the cage, and then bead it at the top with 0.7 millimeter wire. Now what I'll do is I will go away and I fit this, solder this to the white metal part, and I'll fit the other details, and then I'll come back and show you what I've done with the bunker. Okay, I'm back again, and as I mentioned before, I've been away and I've assembled the bunker top, as I mentioned. So I'll just tell you how I did this, but before I do that, this part here, which you can see sticking up, that is the tank air vent. You need to make sure that you get the correct one. So the shorter one here is for the bunker with the cage or the bunker with the 3 coal rails. There is a taller one which I've just dropped. Just bear with me. There we go. So there is a taller one which comes as an option in the kit. That is for the one with the hopper top. Although, strange to relate, there is also one locomotive which was scheduled to have a hopper bunker fitted, and as a result they fitted the taller air vent to the bunker rear, and this wasn't removed. So you have the rather strange sight of this locomotive with a conventional bunker at the rear with a huge vent, and there's a good picture of it in the Eden section, the A8 section of the relevant book. So just make sure that depending on which locomotive you're building, you fit the correct part. With the etched part, what I've done is I've soldered it in 5 places. So I've soldered it this side, the 2 rear corners, and I've soldered it in the middle of the bunker rear. So hopefully that will be sufficient for the moment. If it turns out that it does need strengthening, I will go away and do that. I'll just solder along. So just try and make sure, as I mentioned, the bottom bit of the cage is flat and level. I've just noticed this side isn't, so I probably will have to strengthen it to a certain extent. It may be that it's lifted at this end, so I'll just correct that quickly. So just bear with me. If you hear a yelp, I've burnt my leg. Okay. Right, well that's not too bad. Now, so if you remember in the first part, I mentioned I got it a little bit wrong about the dimensions, saying that should be 32mm, is actually 28.5. But in the drawing, if you remember, on the instructions on page 9, there is this drawing down the bottom which mentions 2 lots of 16mm dimensions plus 2.5, and they are for these pipes, which I'm not quite sure what they are for, but they are probably pipes for reducing coal dust, especially when the locomotive is running bunker first. So quite a few locomotives had sprays in the tender to actually keep the dust down when running bunker first. Certainly some of the BR standards did, they had water sprays. So as it mentions in the instructions, those bits, those vents or whatever they are, made out of 1mm wire. Just bend them over at the top. You'll need to drill the holes, and that's what the 16mm thing is. So the easiest way I found to do it was to measure the middle of the cast part. It's 54mm between the 2 uprights at the back. It's 54mm, half of that is 27, and then measure 16mm either side, and then you get the position of the vents. Try and get them equidistant if you can. It's quite difficult, especially if you do it after the cage is fitted, like I did. I would suggest that you mark out and drill these holes before you fit the cage, if you are going to build one with a cage or the hopper top. So anyway, that's done now. I'm going to keep that. I've just checked that it fits, and it does fit quite well. So the cage is below the edges of the window at the back. It fits reasonably all the way round with no real hole or gap between the etch and the cast part, and what is there can be filled in either with solder or with your chosen filler before you paint it. I'm probably going to solder this. It's a bit of a shame that you can't actually solder up from underneath, but I'll spot solder it in a few places and then fill the gaps in with filler probably, or milliput or whatever. So that's the bunker completed, and the other thing that I've done from this session, which is from page 9, is I have fitted the white metal disc, which is W41 Whiskey 41 part, and what that is for, that is the support for the boiler at the cab end. So the boiler, when you insert the boiler sits on that disc and holds it up to the correct height. But I'm not going to go any further with that at the moment. Follow that through, plus the other steps that we missed out, like fitting the buffer stocks, and we'll carry on with that the next time I produce a video. Hopefully by that time I will have found a decent picture of the right hand side of the locomotive, so that I can do the pipe work on for the lubricators, and we'll carry on from there. So this is as far as we go this time. I'll put the bunker in. So there we go, we're getting quite a nice representation of our chosen locomotive. It is, with the boiler on, it is extremely heavy now. So anyway, thank you for watching this part, and hopefully I'll be back soon, Guild Library and other things permitting, to carry on with the construction of the DJH A8 kit. I hope you've enjoyed this series of videos, and I will continue them in the very near future. Thank you for watching.